All right, this video is brought to you by rockauto.com, the online auto parts store with everything that you need at the best possible prices. Rockauto.com has been in business for over 20 years, and whether you're a mechanic, an auto shop guy, or just working on your car at home, everyone has access to the same incredible pricing at rockauto.com. So if you're working on your car, I recommend rockauto.com. They're sure to have the parts that you need, and they make it easy to find. There's no dealing with confused counter guys, stores that don't have the parts that you need, or the storefront markups. At rockauto.com, you can browse from home, and now you know you are getting the best possible prices for your car parts. Put simply, I'm very happy to be partnered with rockauto.com, and they make it easy to find the parts that you need at the best possible prices. So, if you're working on your car right now, click the link in the episode description or go to rockauto.com for the car parts and that you need at the best possible prices, and tell them that Mike Bisping sent you. Okay, let's get into it. All right, if you were lucky enough to tune into ESPN Plus last night, then you would have witnessed what I called on air an instant classic. There was one or two people push back on that, but listen, let's be honest. It was an insane fight. What am I talking about? Of course, you know, it was the main event between Marvin, the Italian Dream, Vettori, and Paulo, the Scales Nightmare Costa, right? It was the main event, supposed to be at middleweight. Massive fight in the middleweight division. In fact, a middleweight fight so big that it had to go up to light heavyweight. We know what happened. My last video was all about that. Paulo Costa came in, disrespected the sport, came in way too heavy, and did the fight at 205. I talked about that last time, so let's forget about that, but let's talk about the fight, because the fight certainly delivered. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Now, okay, granted, maybe I'm a little biased because a lot of the time with the middleweights being my former division, I get really excited for it. Certainly when Israel Adesanya fights the champion, I'm all in. It's the edge of the seat stuff, and I'm breaking things down. I'm analysing it in a very different way. But Marvin Vettori last night, I mean, if he didn't have your respect already because of what he did all week, the attitude that he had, taking that fight, not asking any questions, not messing around, not negotiating for more money from the UFC. Okay, granted, he took 20% of Paulo Costa's purse, but that's standard protocol. This guy, right, you gotta respect Marvin Vettori. He said, yeah, screw it, I don't care, I don't give a fuck, let's do the fight. And when you saw Paulo Costa, oh my God, the guy was gigantic. I mean, listen, Vettori's a big middleweight. He's a big, strong, hard-headed, hard-handed, tough striker, well-rounded skills, and he's a big dude for middleweight. But against Paulo Costa, I mean, they literally did look another weight class. And when you saw Paulo Costa, you would always think, you know, because they always say the old adage is, if you've got a lot of muscle, that requires a lot of oxygen to the muscles and a lot of blood to the muscles, and that's going to make you run out of gas quicker. And Yoel Romero is a perfect example of that. And of course, Paulo Costa kind of falls into that narrative. I got to say, right, when the fight started in the second round, it looked like Costa was gasping for air. He looked like he was tired. He looked like he was spent. But he didn't slow down pretty much the entire 5 rounds. And as I say, I have my opinion on him not making weight. But let's forget about that right now. Let's talk about the fight. And I have so much respect for Marvin, but I've got so much respect for Paulo Costa as well. That fight was incredible. It was bananas. It was kind of, Costa was looking predominantly for the knockout shot. I mean, the head kicks that he connected to Marvin with was, I mean, I don't know how Marvin stayed on the feet. How he took those head kicks and stayed on the feet. I mean, because when you heard the whip of those body kicks as well. I mean, when you hit the Thai pads, I don't know if you people have ever kicked a Thai pad, but if you kick a Thai pad nice, right, you get that slap, and it's a beautiful sound, and it's the feedback you want. And when you get that slap, it keeps you kicking more, and it's like, yeah, that's what you want. The annoying thing is, by the way, some Thai pads don't actually make that snapping sound, and it pisses you off as a guy hitting the pads. But anyway, you don't get that when you kick a body. But Paulo Costa, when he was kicking Marvin Vettori, that's the sound it was making. That's the power. That's the force. That's the whip that Costa had in those kicks. And Marvin Vettori is one of the toughest bastards alive because he didn't take hardly a single step back. He didn't even look like he was hurt. It didn't even look like it registered. He just continued fighting. Now, it was, as I say, Costa was looking for the knockout blows. He was looking for the head kicks. He was looking for the big right hands or the left hands. Vettori was using more combinations, more numbers. And a lot of the time, he'd get in the pocket, he'd throw 3, 4, 5, 6 punches, and then come up with a knee to finish. Of course, as the fight went on, he sprinkled in a few takedowns here and there. That was a really smart approach. But yeah, the whole time, I mean, it was just a violent fight. You know, if you love all action fights, then that fight was what you want. I think that's what a lot of people, that's why they love the UFC, because you get action from start to finish. And that was a good display of martial arts. Of course, you had a little bit of grappling, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of jiu-jitsu thrown in, but predominantly it was a striking affair. And you know, a lot of people appreciate the grappling, and that's great to see in this day and age. More people, you know, they understand the finer nuances of the grappling scenarios. They understand the takedowns. You hear crowds cheering when people get reversals and stuff like that. But it's easy to understand when somebody cracks somebody in the face and it echoes around the arena. And make no mistake, some of those body kicks, they did echo around the apex. As I say, I was watching that fight and I was just in awe. I was in awe of both of them. The fact that Paulo Costa was able to continue to push forward when he was clearly so tired. He was so tired, but he dug deep. He kept pushing. He didn't give up. I always talk about this. I think I mentioned it recently. We have it within us. There's always that extra level you can go to. There's a video on the YouTube, I think it's on the shorts, me and my son Callum running before he went off to an international tournament. And I was beasting him. I was making him run sprints. I was making him jump up and touch a tree and all these type of things at the top of a hill, right? 30 push-ups and then sprint back down and sprint back up, things like that. And he was almost... he was. I had to hold him at the end. He was almost falling over. But I'm like, son, you got to stay with me. Stay with me. Keep this pace. He's like, I can't. I'm like, yes, you can. You're choosing right now not to. But we all have it. Of course, you know, there is a point where exhaustion does become a factor and it kicks in. But most of the time, we have the extra little bit to give. And that's what we saw from Costa. He just kept going back to the well. He kept digging deep and he wouldn't be denied. You know, and he was in that fight right until the very end. He was dangerous until the very end. And he continued landing until the very end as well. And once again, Marvin Vettori took his best shots and fired back each and every single time. I have so much respect for Marvin, so much respect for Costa. What an incredible fight. Afterwards on the microphone, I thought Marvin was absolutely hilarious because, you know, listen, they were talking shit at the weigh-ins. You probably saw the weigh-in video. Vittori got in his face, gave him the double fingers and all that stuff. Sean Shelby had his work cut out, trying to hold them back, trying to keep them away from one another. And then afterwards I said, look, listen, after the fight, how do you feel about him? And what did he say? He said, he's a cunt. And it's hard for me as a commentator because I can't allude, you know what I mean, to what's being said, and I certainly can't because I'm assuming on ESPN they're gonna bleep that out, you know what I mean. So I can't allude to what was said. But in my mind, when Vettori said he's a cunt, I was gonna say, well, if the cap fits, and then move on, you know, because it was kind of cuntish, wasn't it? Let's be honest, coming in and calling the shots and making him fight at 205. So anyway, well done to both men. Well done. I'm not getting on Costa's back, you know. He came in heavy. He actually says now he doesn't want to fight at light heavyweight going forward. At the post-fight press conference, they were asking him about that, and he said, listen, of course I can fight at 205, but if I can fight at 185, why not? Why not? And I get that. He has made middleweight pretty well every other fight throughout his entire career, so we can make it. Maybe there was something going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. You know, maybe there's something he didn't want to talk about. Maybe there was an injury. You know, I'm just playing devil's advocate. What is next for these men? Well, for Marvin Vettori, he's just beaten the number 2 guy. Adesanya's the champ, Robert Whittaker's number 1, and then Paulo Costa was number 2. You would think now, even though this technically wasn't a middleweight fight, so it, I guess, technically shouldn't affect the rankings. But I can't see a world where Marvin Vettori doesn't take Paulo Costa's spot and he now becomes the number 2. But the thing was, and Marvin was very honest and he was very realistic. I said, what do you want next? I'm assuming, you know, a title fight is still something that burns strongly within your heart. And he's like, well, I'm not really focusing on that right now. And that's the right approach. The reality is his last fight before Costa was against Adesanya. You're not going to get one straight away. You're not going to get that rematch instantly. So who does he fight? Well, I think Jared Cannonier would be a fantastic fight, and it would be another highly ranked opponent. Who else is there? Let's have a little look at the rankings real quick because I've got them here. My mind's gone blank. Here we go. Oh, Derek Brunson. He just beat Darren Till. That would be a good one. So we've got Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa. That's now going to be Vettori. Jared Cannonier. That'd be a good fight. Jack Hermanson. He's already beaten Jack Hermanson. Sean Strickland waiting in the wings. Sean Strickland needs an opponent. But I was talking to Marvin just before. He's actually still in Las Vegas right now. So he probably needs a little bit of time. Let's be honest, because even though he won that fight, he's going to be sore. Paulo Costa is going to be sore. Do you know what I mean? Make no mistake. When you go through a fight of that magnitude, a fight of that level of violence, it takes its toll. And it's going to leave a lot of bumps and bruises and headaches and all that good stuff. And he's going to be limping about for days. Oh, and I also want to say, again, I'm not riding Marvin's nuts. I was just blown away by the toughness of this man. He took all those headshots. He took those body kicks. He took those front kicks. Costa was ripping to the body. And again, how he never reacted in a stronger fashion is absolutely beyond me. He has my respect. That man is as tough as they come. He had all his crowd out there at Mezzo Corona in Italy in the town square. That was beautiful to see. Amazing. I said last night, instant classic. Someone on Twitter was like, oh, relax, Mike. Maybe it's recency bias, or maybe I'm just invested because I'm a former middleweight. But either way, I say that was a fucking instant classic. Well done to Costa, well done to Marvin Vettori, of course, and well done to you guys for supporting this channel. Remember, do me a favor, subscribe down below if you haven't already done, and be sure to ring the bell. That way you're going to stay up to date with all the videos that we've got planned. Brentendo and I, we've got all kinds of content coming up soon. We've got a lot of stuff. We're thinking outside the box. Make sure you ring that bell. Stay up to date. Have a good one. Take care.